What is up, my Lorcana goons? Welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel. My name is Kevin, and we're gonna go over today one of the biggest tournaments for Lorcana that we've ever seen, probably the biggest online tournament I've ever seen. This was hosted by Tea Beastie and the Pack. It was hosted on the Lorcana Play Network and Pixelborn, so shout out everybody who made this tournament happen. Right now, top 16 is being played out, and we're gonna go over the top 16 deck list. So if you're watching this on Sunday, check the link in the description below so you can see those live streams to see which one of these decks is going to get first place and which one of these players is going to get first place, because first place winner gets a ticket to the invitationals. This is, I think, the fourth, or I think this is the fourth tournament that Tea Beastie and the Pack have hosted. So and each one keeps getting bigger and bigger from what it's looking like. So it's a pretty competitive tournament, man. I didn't get to play this one myself, but the ones I have played, it's a bunch of amazing players who definitely want to win. So overall, this is probably like peak competitive Lorcana right now, especially because when you're playing online on Pixelborn, you don't have to pay any money to build a deck. So you really do have a lot of ability to choose what you want to play, what cards you want to tech and whatnot, and we're going to see a lot of that variety and variance in this top 16 meta. So let's get on into this. I do just want to break down first the prize pool, because it was a $1,700 prize pool split between the top 8 players. So top 16 is playing it out right now, like I mentioned, but only the top 8 players get some of this cash money prize pool that we can see right here. So as you can see here, first place is getting 500 smackers for getting first place. It was a total of 186 players. There was 8 rounds of Swiss yesterday, and we're going to play out top 16 today. Second place is getting 350. Third place is getting 250. Top 4 is getting $200, and top 8 is getting $100 each. And it was a $15 entry, if I'm not mistaken. So if you guys aren't familiar with some of these cash prize tournaments, oftentimes the ones in person charge like $35, and it's only a $1,000 split between top cut. But this is like half the price for entry and double the price in prizing. So once again, shout out to Tea Beastie, the Pack, Lorcana Play Network, all these people putting these tournaments together, because I know it's not easy, and I know it's probably not easy on your pockets either. And top 16 is getting that website promo card, and some of those promo cards are kind of cool, you know what I mean? So if you're into that, you're into that. But yeah, let's get on into this top 8. Top 16, I mean. One more big shout out to Tea Beastie right here. Check out their YouTube, check out their Twitch. Like I said, they're actually streaming it right now, so there you go. You can watch it right now. You can watch the top 16 play it out, so be sure to check that out if you want to see the winner. And I'm going to be updating the winners basically in the description, so I'm going to put all the links in the description below, and I'm going to update who ended up winning basically. That's in the description. So if you're watching this after Sunday, now be sure to check the description below to see who got first place. But let's get on into this right here. I do have a deck list right here set up. This was the first place in Swiss by Nicholas Wiley. Shout out you, taking Emerald Amethyst all the way to first place in the Swiss rounds, probably going 7-0, 8-0 with the Emerald Amethyst deck. And I do want to give a big shout out to inkdecks.com for putting these deck lists together for all of us Lorcana goons. Check out that website. Again, this is the website I'm going to be using to provide all the links in the description if you want to see any of these deck lists. First place in Swiss, though, with the Emerald Amethyst deck. We've seen this before. This deck is top notch. I love this deck personally because it doesn't play many other things other than characters. Mostly characters. The only other non-characters we're playing is going to be 3 Queen's Castle and 4 Friends on the other side. But we're also playing 4 Merfolk, Rafiki, Flynn Rider. We have the Petting Zoo package with the 4 Snake, the Foxes, the Goats, the Rabbits, and we're playing 3 Crabs, which is kind of nice. We're also playing the 3 Mother Knows Best, because that's going to be some of our removal bounce abilities alongside Cloud Kicker and Yzma. Yzma Scary Beyond Reason. We're only playing 2 of those, but it is our highest cost character and card in the whole deck. So post turn 6, if you've already inked to turn 6, you probably don't even really have to ink anymore. You can start generating a lot more advantage or value just by drawing cards, but you probably still want to ink after turn 6, right? Either way though, your highest cost card is only a 6 drop, and there's only 2 of them, so by the time you get to 4 ink, you can play most of the cards in your deck already, which is cool. And we're obviously playing the double Ursula package. We have Ursula Deceiver to make sure we can snipe out the opposing songs from the opponent, and then we can also play Ursula Deceiver of All, which is going to let us sing songs like Friends on the Other Side twice and Mother Knows Best twice, and those are actually the only songs we have to use with Ursula Deceiver of All. But man, those are some good songs to be able to sing twice. Imagine, I'm sure you guys have played against this deck, or if you are playing this deck, you know how amazing it is to be able to sing Friends on the Other Side and draw 4 cards, just refilling your entire hand. Also, Mother Knows Best. This deck does not have much removal in the sense where the characters that you use your removal on are going to be banished. They're not going to be banished. They're going to go back to the hand, or in the Yzma case, they're going to go back to the deck. But that is super impactful, especially when you use Mother Knows Best to sing in a combination with Ursula Deceiver of All, and you sing the Ursula, you're able to bounce 2 characters on the field to the hand, sometimes even bouncing your own goat to finish the game off, or just bouncing 2 of the opposing characters to the hand. The loss of tempo is really crucial, really important, and this deck is pretty aggressive. So if you are playing more of a control, a slower based deck, like let's say something in Ruby Sapphire, you're gonna have a little bit of a hard time against this deck because this deck generates lore very quickly. You're playing a combination of 10 1-drops with the Chernobog followers, the Cursed Merfolks, and the Rafiki. In the beginning of the game, if you drop that Cursed Merfolk followed by a Flynn Rider, you're already going to be at 4 lore by turn 2, and if your opponent is not playing a turn 1 or 2 play, oh my gosh, you're going to be able to just keep generating lore before they even get to play any characters on board. And when they do play a character on board, all you have to do is follow up with Cloud Kicker or something like Mother Knows Best, and they have no more characters on the board. So that's what this deck does the best, I think. It does a very good job at making sure your opponent cannot play any characters or keep any characters on the board, which means they're not going to be able to challenge your characters, they're not going to be able to sing any songs, and all your characters are going to be able to keep generating constant value. Chernobog's Followers is a card that I highly underestimated in the beginning of the format. Being able to quest in the beginning and then draw a card when you need to get rid of it is actually kind of nice. And then we're seeing a lot of people play this Pinocchio right here, Pinocchio Talkative Puppet. Really nice card. When you play this character, you may exert chosen opposing character. In combination with this and cards like Crab or Fox, it's going to let you clear the opposing problematic cards. A lot of times it's going to let you out the opposing Sad Beast. Only playing 1 though, but still a very powerful card to play. One of, in my opinion. But probably one of the better plays is using the Rafiki you played on turn 1 and then comboing it off with Pinocchio on turn 2, because that's going to be able to exert an opposing character in the early game, and oftentimes the Rafiki's already adding pressure because your opponent won't quest with the cards or whatever. But if you follow up with the Pinocchio, any card that they already had that they were trying not to quest with because that Rafiki is going to be exerted, and you're going to be able to clear it with that Rafiki. So if you're playing the mirror match and they have an Ursula Deceiver of All, you just follow up with a Pinocchio Rafiki play, and boom, you get to clear the opposing Ursula. So that's always nice. This deck, very powerful. We've seen it before. This was probably one of the most talked about decks in the beginning of the format, so no surprise that we're seeing it in the first place in Swiss for this top 16. Shout out Nicholas Wiley again for getting first place in Swiss. Good luck in the rest of the tournament. Next up, we have second place in Swiss. We have Killian Ma with a Ruby Sapphire list. Now, this deck has been picking up a lot in popularity in the last couple of weeks. I've been playing this deck since the beginning of the format. Just want to say I've always liked the concept of Ruby Sapphire Popsicle. And now that Ruby Amethyst is no longer what it used to be, and we've gotten a bunch of other cards to support this deck, in my opinion, is one of the best decks in the format. The ability to be able to ramp and control the game constantly is just a great combination of cards. We're seeing a lot of utility in this deck with cards like Fishbone Quill, obviously, to let us ramp, but that's going to be really the only ramp we have in this deck with our ink, aside from Grandma's Hala. But still very powerful, and we're also playing for Develop Your Brain to ensure that there's enough consistency in this deck. So if you don't open up Fishbone Quill in your mulligan, maybe you open up Develop Your Brain in your mulligan, and that's going to get you to the Fishbone Quill before turn 3. Develop Your Brain is an extremely underrated Sapphire card. I was overlooking this card so much because I was playing the Grandma's Hala instead, which is kind of like a Develop Your Brain with a body. But the ability to only use 1 ink to control, I guess, your draw, even if it's just a little bit, oh my gosh, it goes such a long way in this deck, because oftentimes you just need to see that Flavor Sham, you just need to see that 1 Fishbone, that 1 Popsicle. And a lot of people are not playing item removal right now. Benja isn't super popular. There's item removal in Emerald as well, and those cards aren't really popular, like Wildcat or that other song, I forgot what it's called. And as you can see here, Sapphire is starting to play Judy Hopps, which is going to be really good in the opposing mirror match or against the Sapphire Steel deck. So item removal is pretty powerful right now. I think a lot of people are sleeping on that concept. I think it's Rise of the Titans as well as the only other item removal in the game, so there's not that much removal in general for items still in Lorcana, so you can really take advantage of that with this deck. And the ability to play items like Maui's Fishhook, Lucky Dime is just really powerful. Some other nice cards in this deck that we're starting to see that are seeing a rise Horizon play our Scar Vicious Cheater. This is not necessarily like a be prepared, but it's its own way of having a board wipe that cannot get sniped by the opposing Bare Necessities or Ursa the Deceiver. There are some times where you maybe want to keep your characters on the board as well. Maybe you have a Maui Fishhook already on the board, and you want to follow up with the Scar, but you need to clear the board, but you don't want to use Be Prepared. So instead, you play the Scar. That Maui's Fishhook is going to be able to use its ability for free because you have a Maui on board, and now your Scar is going to be able to challenge with 9 strength, which is kind of crazy. I love that combination. I love the combination of Maui's Fishhook in this deck because it adds so much utility to some of your early game cards like the Cruella de Vil, the Grandma Tala, the Queen of Hearts. It's going to make them all a lot more stronger than what they normally are. Even the Flavor Sham. Flavor Sham's usually a 1/6 character with that stat line. That 1 strength usually doesn't seem very threatening, but when you have a Maui's Fishhook, you can make Flavor Sham a 4 strength character with a 6 willpower, which is honestly kind of nice in my opinion. And then we're also seeing obviously the control cards in here to be able to have constant removal like Lady Tremaine, Madame Medusa. We have 4 copies of Maleficent Monstrous Dragon. People were sleeping on this card in this format. Everybody was taking it out of their deck, but I think this card is amazing. We're not playing Hades, we're not playing Let It Go, which is honestly surprising to me, but I haven't been playing for the last 2 weeks, so I have been playing, but I haven't been playing that much, so I haven't really kept up with like the current meta trends, so I am a little surprised to not see cards like Let It Go or Hades, considering that this looks like a removal-based deck, but instead it's looking like we're playing cards to end the game off, like 4 Tamatoa. I love the 4 Gaston in this deck. 4 Gaston in this deck, it's just nice, you know what I mean? Gaston is very threatening against the Ruby Amethyst matchup. It has 4 strength, so it cannot be banished by Mana Medusa, and that 4 strength also means it can be hit by cards like World's Greatest Criminal Mind, which nobody really plays anymore, but still, you know, having I think 4 strength right now is a very, very solid number in Lorcana. It does everything you need it to do, and Gaston's gonna quest for 3, and it's gonna have like an almost better develop your brain ability to be able to look at the top 3 cards and pick a card. And like I was just saying, sometimes you really just need that last McDuck Manor or Lucky Dime or something like that to finish the game off. And speaking of McDuck Manor, man, I did not expect this in this top cut list. We did see people playing McDuck Manor in the last Taya Beastie tournament in Sapphire Steel, so it's very interesting to see this card being played in Ruby Sapphire. If you don't know what it does, it's a 4 cost location with one move cost and 9 willpower, making it very powerful. And at the beginning of your turn, every turn you're gonna gain 2 lore. So this might be the way you secure the bag at the end of the game. You ramped so much that you're like at 10, 12 ink, and you just play double McDuck Manor, and your opponent's gonna have a hard time trying to get rid of it, especially if you already have cards like Minnie Mouse Surfer, Gaston, even the Tamatoa. If you're following up with these cards, it's just constant pressure, and a lot of other decks don't have immediate removal like that. The only other removal decks are going to be something like Ruby Amethyst, or let's say anything with Steel in it, and the Steel matchup is definitely going to have a little bit of a harder time getting rid of some of these high willpower characters and locations. But yeah, Lucky Dime. I like the 1 Lucky Dime in here. I'm not sure how impactful it is, but I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not the first time we're gonna see Lucky Dime in this top 16. But let's get on into our 3rd place in Swiss. Shout out to Shyler Dunce. This is gonna be a Sapphire Steel list, taking 3rd place in Swiss. As you can see here, we got 2 Lucky Dime, just like I was saying. So Lucky Dime's starting to see a little bit more meta play. I like this card. I think this card was a little bit slept on. It's a 7 uninkable cost item, which is unfortunate because it is uninkable. But when you're playing stuff like Fishbone Quill, you're able to just ink it away when you don't need it, if you don't need it. And even cards like Whole New World are going to let you get rid of it in case it's stuck in your hand or something. But Lucky Dime is going to be able to pay 2 extra ink for you and gain and give you lore based on the character that you choose. So if you have a Gaston on board and you have Lucky Dime there, you just pay 2 extra ink and you gain 3 lore. What's really cool about this card is if you already have Lucky Dime set up on turn 7, the following turn you can play any of your characters like Smee, Gaston, Tinkerbell, for example, and the moment you play them, you can pay an extra 2 ink and just gain that lore the turn you played them. So it's almost like questing on the turn you play a character, which is a little unfair because that's like kind of breaking the Lorcana rules, right? But this deck playing some very interesting cards, some cards we have seen in Sapphire Steel. Like I mentioned, we have the 4 McDuck Manor. We're obviously playing the Sad Beast, Whole New World, Fishbone Quill, Smee, Popsicle, Develop Your Brain, Captain Hook, all of these at 4. But this list is playing 4 Cogsworth. I have seen Cogsworth a lot in the meta. Cogsworth is going to really put a lot of pressure against the opposing Steel deck. decks, especially stuff like Amber Steel or Emerald Steel. I feel like the Emerald Steel deck is really good, but when you drop a Cogsworth against them, it makes it very, very hard to be able to clear the board or to like consistently have removal against them. And having double Cogsworth, can we please talk about how good having double Cogsworth is in the format? I think having 2 Cogsworths on the field is actually insane. Against any Steel matchup, I want to say it's almost like auto GG, but obviously not. But man, yeah, double Cogsworth is really strong. I feel like one of the only few outs to double Cogsworth is going to be something like Be Prepared. We do have the 1 copy of Let It Go. Once again, surprised we're not playing Hades, but I guess Hades is just not needed in this format, right? I guess Hades does have that drawback as well, where you'd be giving your opponent an ink, so maybe you don't want to be doing that right now in this format. But we are playing the 1 Let It Go. We have 2 copies of Along Came Zeus and 2 copies of Rise of the Titans to ensure we have some extra item or location removal. But as you can see, not playing Benja, so we are relying heavily on Rise of the Titans to get rid of some of these locations and items. And there's a lot of item decks in the format now, so I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing a rise of item removal very soon. But let's get on to the next list. Top 4, very diverse in the Swiss rounds. We have Steel Amber, piloted by Konstantin Schall. Shout out you for getting 4th place in Swiss. Good luck in the rest of top 16, my goons. Check this out. Amber Steel Song, very awesome. We're seeing the Sleepy's Flute get some meta play this time around. I feel like a lot of people have not been playing the Sleepy's Flute version. We've been seeing more of like a mid-range almost version of the Amber Steel list. Sleepy's Flute definitely is one of the better cards, I think, in an Amber Steel to combo off with your new songs like Bare Necessities and then Along Came Zeus and whatnot. But yeah, let's check this out. We're playing 4 of the Cindy Ballroom Sensation, 4 of the Robin Hood Goons, and the Queen Goons, and we are playing the shiftable targets with Robin Hood Champion Sherwood and Queen Commanding Presence, and 2 copies of the Big Cindy. Some other cards to note, I really just love Cinderella right now. Sorry, not Cinderella, I mean Ariel. I think Ariel's really good right now. Obviously, you want to play Ariel in most Amber decks, but we just have so many songs now to play Ariel, to search with Ariel, which makes it even better. This list is playing 18 songs, I believe, which is kind of nice, so ideally you're probably going to be able to hit a song off of the Ariel more often than not. It's not half your deck, but it's dang near close, and we are only playing 2 Sleepy's Flute, so you maybe want to mulligan into your Sleepy's Flute or try to see it as fast as possible off of Whole New World and make sure you're able to play that card down, because you are playing more songs like I mentioned, and Bare Necessities is a very good song with Sleepy's Flute, not only being able to have a potential 1-for-1, but you get to look at your opponent's hand. Looking at the opponent's hand, I've said this plenty of times, and it's just really important. I think that the amount of information you get from cards like Bare Necessities and Ursula the Deceiver is almost a little unfair. I personally love this card. Even when I don't rip an opposing card, it just feels very good to know, oh, you don't have an out to my Sad Beast, or oh, you don't have Be Prepared. Cool, I could just play whatever the heck I want now. So that's a really cool interaction with Bare Necessities that I find very powerful. I also want to talk about how good Mr. Smee is in Amber Steel right now in combination with Rapunzel. So many times when I play Amber Steel, I'll play a Mr. Smee on turn 2, turn 3 I'll quest with it, turn 4 I'll quest with it, and let's say it's had 2 damage on it already or something like that. Turn 5 you could just play the Rapunzel and draw it and heal it back and draw 2 cards. So that synergy is just actually really, really powerful and seems a little underrated in my opinion. So many times I've done that. I've healed my Smee for free basically because it's taking damage and giving me lore, and the opponents won't clear the Smee because they think that, oh, it only has 1 damage. When I drop my big tink, it'll clear it away now or something. And I'm able to follow up with a Rapunzel to draw 2 cards and put it back to its 3 willpower. So that's a really cool interaction. And Amber Steel, very, very strong this format still, especially with the combination of flutes. Shout out you, Constantine, for getting 4th place in Swiss rounds. Good luck in the rest of your tournament in top 16. Now in the top 8 of Swiss, we have another Ruby Sapphire deck list. We have J-Bomb Bombgarder. Shout out you for getting a top 8. I hope good luck in the rest of your tournament, like I've been saying. This list looks a little bit different though. We're playing some interesting cards here. We have the 4 Develop Your Brain, obviously, the Popsicles, we got the Flavor Champs, but we are playing the Grandma Tala that I was talking about. This Grandma Tala is going to be, this Grandma Tala is going to be the Keeper of Ancient Stories. I enjoy this card a lot because it's like having another Develop Your Brain. If you don't know what this card does, it says when you play play this character, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You may put one to your hand, put the rest to the bottom of your deck. So it's almost like playing 8 Develop Your Brains. This one is like a Develop Your Brain with a body. I think this card's actually pretty decent. We are playing a lot more ramp in this deck though. We're playing Heart of Tefiti, which is another card that's going to generate you more ink. It's a 3 inkable item that says exert, pay 2, put the top card of your deck to the inkwell face down and exert it. It's almost like a Mickey Mouse detective, but it's an item that doesn't go anywhere, and it's going to be inkable in case you don't need it. You could just get rid of it. We're also seeing Queen of Hearts in this list as well. Queen of Hearts is really good in Ruby Sapphire, especially against the Emerald, Amethyst, or some of these other really aggressive decks, or like an early aggressive Ruby Amethyst deck. The Queen of Hearts is going to be able to just clear a lot of problematic cards. It's going to be usually giving you a 1-for-1 trade, but man, this card's pretty good, and so many, I don't want to say bad players, but players who aren't as experienced, they play into this card really, really hard. I see a lot of people will play their Robin Hood Goon on turn 1, and then I don't play anything on turn 1, and on turn 2, they quest with it thinking they're safe, and you use your Queen of Hearts to trade into their Goon characters, and then next you see them ink away their shiftable characters like the Queen or the Robin Hood. So Queen of Hearts, very powerful. You guys gotta stop questing with your Goon characters because yeah, the Queen of Hearts is out here. It's really punishing. We are seeing Judy Hopps in this list as well. We got the Maui's Fishhook because Maui's Fishhook is just really powerful in combination with some of these cards like Grandma Tala and the Queen. And I just love Maui's Fishhook. I love it in this deck. I was underestimating it. I love the ability to give your Grandma Tala 3 strength, which is really powerful because your small Grandma will be a 4/1 and your medium Grandma will be a 6/3 character potentially, right? Oftentimes too, this card you could do some snazzy plays with it. If you feel like your opponent has an opposing Madame Medusa, you can use your Maui's Fishhook to bump up one of your characters like your Flavor Sham, and then your Flavor Sham will be at 4 strength. So on their turn, if they play Madame Medusa, they can't choose your Flavor Sham anymore because he does not have less than 3 strength or less. That happens so often, and I love that play. So Maui's Fishhook does a lot more in this deck than when you really think about it. So Maui's Fishhook I think is very nice. And then we have 2 Lucky Dime. Lucky Dime doing its thing, man. This is the 3rd list we're seeing with Lucky Dime in it. I don't know. Are we in a Lucky Dime meta? You goons let me know. We have the 4 Gaston because it's just a lot of pressure. Quest for 3. The 4 Tamatoa and the 4 Maleficent Monstrous Dragon. So yeah, it's no wonder why Maleficent Monstrous Dragon is going back up in price and why I've been seeing a lot of Lucky Dime sales when we're doing the Market Watch, which we do every Monday and Friday. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out all the videos we do. Next up in top 16, we have another Steel Sapphire list. This one piloted by Thomas Mauer. Shout out you. This list looking very similar to the other one we just saw, except we are seeing 2 Hades in this list. There we go. 2 more Lucky Dime. This is another list playing Lucky Dime. We are in a Lucky Dime meta. It's what it's looking like. And I think we should all start playing some item removal because that's probably why people are moving to Lucky Dime, because we're not seeing Benja. We're not seeing Judy Hopps really. We're only seeing two copies of Rise of the Titans. You know what I mean? So it's looking like we're able to successfully play items, and you probably end up baiting out the Rise of the Titans early in the game by playing like McDuck Manor or even something like Fishbone Quill, and then later on in the game, if your opponent's only playing 2 of them in their deck, then your Lucky Dimes are more than likely going to stay on the board for the rest of the game, which is kind of crazy. I like that we're playing Captain Hook at 4. This card has been good since Chapter 1. Smee is a very good 2-drop for any Steel deck. It's a 2/3/3 that's going to contest the opposing Snake, or even just most characters within that cost range are going to lose out to a 3 strength character, and its ability that it only takes 1 damage per turn is not even that big a deal. You know what I mean? We are playing 3 Mickey Mouse Detective, which is kind of nice to see for some extra ramp abilities. 2 Smash. You know, a lot of people aren't playing Smash this format, but I think Smash is pretty good. 2 Strength of Raging Fire, 2 Along Came Zeus, and then we have some more cards like those 4 Cogsworth, like I mentioned, and 2 Big Cindy. Big Cindy is really good this format too, by the way. I see a lot of success with Big Cindy. Even when you're not playing Little Cindy, this card just adds a lot of pressure because it does have resist +2 against most Steel decks. It's going to be really hard and kind of problematic to get rid of, and questing for 3 is really powerful, and if you're combining it with Lucky Dime, you could just gain the 3 lore the turn you play the Big Cindy, which is kind of nice. You know what I mean? Next up, another Sapphire Steel list piloted by Isabel Schmidt. Shout out you. I wonder if there's any relation to Joshua Schmidt, pro Yu-Gi-Oh player. Anyways, though, we have this list looking very different than the other Sapphire Steel list that we've been seeing. We are playing 3 Lucky Dime this time and 3 Hades, which is kind of cool to see. We're also seeing Let It Go at 3, very interesting. And we're playing cards like Bell Strange but special. We're playing the We Need the Pooh, having a little think, which is kind of cool. And they're playing 4 copies of Rise of the Titan. I like this list. Yes, you know what you were doing in this tournament. You know what meta to expected. Playing for Rise of the Titans, I think, is probably going to be one of the what we see more often, or if not, maybe in the combination of cards like Benja or maybe even Judy Hopps. Rise of the Titans is good though because we are seeing a lot of people play Micduck Manor. We're still seeing a lot of Ruby Amethyst play cards like the Queen's Castle or Jim Hawkins combination of cards. So Rise of the Titans, I think, is a little bit slept on. It's an inkable 3-cost action that is going to be able to remove the items and the opposing locations, in case you need to get rid of them. So we're also playing 4 of the Knight in Training Cindy and 3 of the Big Cindy, to kind of have more synergy there. Only 3 copies of Develop Your Brain, but still very powerful to add some consistency. And obviously, everybody's favorite card, Whole New World in combination of Fishbone Quill and Flavor Sham. All those at 4, because why not? It just feels like you need to play Whole New World with Fishbone Quill if you are playing Sapphire Steel. And only 2 copies of the Sad Beast. I guess we really just want to be able to draw cards off our Whole New World, or maybe even Popsicles and Tamatoas. So I like the addition of Tamatoa and Sapphire Steel too, because Tamatoa adds just an immense amount of pressure. Every time you play Tamatoa, you're going to be able to get back an item from your discard pile. Every time you quest with him, you can do the same thing, and then you just gain lore based off of how many items you have in play. And if you already have Lucky Dime in play and you follow up with the Tamatoa, you could just gain the amount of lore that Tamatoa has. And the same thing with Bell Strange But Special. If you have 10 ink and you play the Bell Strange But Special, you could just tap the extra 2 ink with Lucky Dime, and you're going to gain 5 lore without even to have to quest your Bell. And if that Bell survives, next turn, you gain 5 more. You're going to be at 10. And if the Bell and Lucky Dime survive, it's just GG. Game over. You're already at 15 lore. It's a pretty cool interaction. So shout out to you, Isabel Schmidt, for getting top 8 right now in the Swiss cut, and good luck in your top 16 matches. Finally, we have our first Ruby Amethyst in this top 8, piloted by the Rat. Shout out you. The Rat is an awesome player. I feel like this dude has gotten at least top 8 or top 16 in every single Taya Beastie tournament. He's probably like 4 for 4 if I'm not mistaken. Every time we cover this event, I always see the Rat. You know what I mean? And I've played against this guy before plenty of times. Really good player. I believe he's a Hearthstone pro as well. So shout out the Rat. Check out his Twitter if you want to follow up on his Lorcana journey. But check out this Ruby Amethyst list. This is kind of how I think people are playing Ruby Amethyst right now in the current format. We have the 4 Olaf, the Rafikis, the petting zoo package with the snakes, the fox, the rabbits. Only 1 crab though, which is very interesting. But we are playing the 2 Maui's Fish Hook because that kind of does act like a crab in itself, because you can give 3 strength to a character. We are only playing 2 Minnie Mouse Surfer. I've been seeing people cut this card out entirely, or cut it out in terms of like lowering how many you're playing. But check this out. We're seeing a double Sorcerer's Spellbook, which is not something I expected to see. I felt like the Queen's Castle was like the go-to card for gaining lore passively like that, but I guess the Sorcerer's Spellbook is gaining some popularity in play right now. I've been seeing how crucial this card can be in the Ruby Amethyst mirror match, so that's pretty interesting. If you guys are playing Ruby Amethyst and you see a lot of Ruby Amethyst in your local meta, maybe consider going back to Sorcerer's Spellbook. It seems to be working out for a lot of players. And then Pinocchio Talkative Puppet seems like a pretty big staple in Ruby Amethyst right now. Double Teeth and Ambitions. We have 3 Maleficent Sorcerers, 4 Friends on the other side. Only 1 copy of the Queen's Castle, like I mentioned, with 1 copy of Dragonfire as well. So we do have some 1-ofs in this deck to kind of ensure that we can have some removal or some extra oomph. That's how I like to look at it. And we are playing 4 Maui, 4 Be Prepared, and we're only playing 2 of the following: Madame Medusa, Yzma Scary Beyond Reason, and Maleficent Monstrous Dragon. So Maleficent Monstrous Dragon, very powerful. Don't sleep on that card. No wonder why it went back from 20 all the way to 30 bucks. It's a legendary. I say it every format. This card is not going to go out of style. I personally love Maleficent Monstrous Dragon. I think it's a really good card. Next up in top 16, another Ruby Amethyst list piloted by Simon Easel. This list is playing Jimbo Hawkins and 4 copies of the Queen's Castle, but we're not playing any other locations. So I imagine if you don't open up the combo of those 2 cards by turn 5, you probably just ink away the Jim Hawkins. But either way, Jim Hawkins still kind of nice. Lets you move to the location for free, so that's not bad in any way, in my opinion. We are playing the 4 Minis and the 4 Chernobog. I'm pretty sure you're playing Mini over Olaf, maybe because if you ink the Mini, your opponent doesn't know yet if you're playing Ruby Sapphire or Ruby Amethyst, for example. So that's kind of cool. I have seen that interaction in real life before, so fairly interesting. We have the 3 Cuscos. That petting zoo package is still there, 444, but we're not playing crabs in this list, which is very interesting. So no crabs at all. I'm surprised to see it. I felt like crab is just really good this format, especially in combination with cards like Fox and Maui, to be able to clear any location in the game, or against the opposing Minnie Mouse Surfer. I like that crab interaction, but a lot of people, like I said, are cutting out the Minnie Mouse Surfer in lower numbers, so you probably don't see it as often. often. And we are playing 4 Maleficents, 4 friends on the other side. Check this out, Lady Tremaine at 4 and Medusa at 2. So I remember at the beginning of the format, people just got rid of Tremaine and we're all playing Madame Medusa, but now we're starting to see people play combinations of the two. So we have the total of 6 right there of removal cards, along with Be Prepared at 4 and the 2 Maleficent Monstrous Dragon. 2 seems like the number. That's like the solid number right now for Maleficent Monstrous Dragon 2. At least in Ruby Amethyst, it's 2, because in Ruby Sapphire, you could probably get away with playing more than 2. Interesting how all these Ruby Amethyst lists are back to back to back. So next up we have Mokaya TBC. Shout out you, top 16 in the Teo BC tournament. Good luck in your top 16 playout rounds. This list looking a little bit more diverse. We are playing some extra one-ofs like Prince Eric, Expert Helmsman. We have the Sorcerer's Spellbook right here, like I mentioned, to probably give you an extra edge in the mirror match. We're only playing 1 Yzma Scary Beyond Reason, 3 Madame Medusa. No Tremaine in this list, just a Medusa. We're playing the 3 Queen's Castle alongside with 2 Crab and 2 Maui's Fish Hook. And then here's that staple again, Pinocchio Talkative Puppet. Very good in this deck. I love Pinocchio Talkative Puppet in this deck. I think it's really good. Being able to obviously exert the opposing characters, like I mentioned, Sad Beast, or some cards that maybe your opponent doesn't want to exert, like the Ursula, is gonna add a lot of benefit to your combo plays. And then bouncing it back with Snake or Fox and later on is gonna let you just replay it over and over again, which is kind of cool. And then, like I said, the combination with Rafiki, very, very powerful. But for your 1-drops, we have the 3 Olaf, the 4 Rafiki, and then we are playing Cusco and Teeth and Ambition. So those are some pretty solid cards. I think this is how I like to play my Ruby Amethyst. I'm not playing Jimbo Hawkins, and I feel like a lot of people aren't really playing Jimbo Hawkins right now. Not to say that it's not good, but I just like to play it like this better because it's more of a control variant is what it's looking like. But next up, we have another Ruby Amethyst list. This one piloted by Jeebus. Shout out you. Check out their Twitter. They're for their Lorcana journey. They post a lot about their experience playing Lorcana. Playing cards like 4 Mini, 4 Rafiki. For your 1-drops, we have the Pinocchio Talkative Puppet again. It's like a staple in this list, I'm telling you. 2 Teeth and Ambitions. We have the 2 Crab, the 2 Fish Hook, 2 Sorcerer's Spellbook. All right, so it's looking like Sorcerer's Spellbook is starting to be like a meta staple almost as well in Ruby Amethyst, because it's probably better than more than just the mirror match. I'm just realizing now that people are not really playing that item removal, so they're gonna be able to capitalize on that in the meta. And I'm pretty sure if people are playing item removal, they're probably using it on your Maui's Fish Hook or your Queen's Castle instead. So later on in the game, that Sorcerer's Spellbook can probably close out the game fairly easily. And then we are playing Madame Medusa and 2 Yzma. Yzma's pretty good, you know what I mean? It's looking like Yzma's coming back into the format, and most of the time giving your opponent 2 cards is almost irrelevant if you're like at 15 lore and you have a combination of like Goat and Spellbook, or like Goats and Bounce cards. It doesn't matter how many cards your opponent has in the hand, because that Goat is going to be able to finish the game off for you. Petting Zoo package, we got snakes, crabs, rabbits, we have goats and foxes. Only 2 crab, like I mentioned. And yeah, shout out you, Jeebus. Good luck in your top 16 matches. So last Ruby Amethyst though from this bunch right here is going to be by Inkwell Gamer. Shout out you. Been following you guys on Twitch for the longest time, man. I really like to see this, because this dude, this gets a couple actually. And I forget shout out the dude. I just forgot your name right now, but I know you've been playing a lot of Pixelborn tournaments, and I know there was a point in time where you were like talking about how difficult it was. But man, it's great to see you in this top 16 cut, man. Congrats for getting this. Good luck in your top 16 playout. Playing Ruby Amethyst, we have the 4 Chernobog Followers, Rafiki for your 1-drops. Interesting, we're not playing any Olaf or minis in this one, just the Chernobog Followers. And we have that Pinocchio Talkative Puppet right there. We are playing them Petting Zoo characters, and we have the 2 Crab only with the 2 Fish Hook, 2 Madame Medusa, and 3 Yzma Scary Beyond Reason. Yeah, Yzma is really popular in Ruby Amethyst this tournament. Very interesting. It's probably because instead of having to rely on your opponent playing into a Lady Tremaine or, playing into a Madame Medusa, you could just get rid of any problematic card with Yzma. Like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of interactions where you use your own Fish Hook to give your characters more strength so that the opposing player cannot use Madame Medusa on your characters. So that a lot of people probably understand that interaction. So we're probably starting to shift into playing cards like Yzma to avoid that. And look at this, Inkwell Gamer is playing 4 Maleficent Monstrous Dragon, which is, like I said, that's pretty cool. Do not sleep on this card coming back into the meta. Only 2 Queen's Castle, and then, like I said, those 2 Sorcerer's Spellbooks to probably have a better time in the mirror match. And give real quick shout out to Inkwell Gamers again. Follow their Twitch. I'll put the link in the description below. They do a lot of Twitch streaming, and they've streamed their tournaments before in the past. So once again, congrats to you. Really good to see you get this top 16, bro. Congrats. I really hope you you have some good luck in your top 16 match. All right, next up, next up we have an Amethyst Steel list piloted by Dennis. So shout out you for getting top 16. You know, good luck in your Top Cut match. This list looking kind of nice. It looks pretty aggressive. Only playing 2 Sorcerer's Spellbook and as your non-character cards in this deck. Everything else is a character card in this deck. We have the Maleficent Biding Your Time, the Olaf, and the Robin Hood Goons as your 1-drops. We're playing 4 of those. And then for your 2-drops, we have the Cuscos, the Snakes, the Mr. Smee, and the Pinocchio Star Attraction, which is going to get you 3 lore, right? So that's kind of cool. Ooh, check this out. Arthur, Wizard's Apprentice. It's almost like people were not playing this card anymore. I think at the beginning when everyone was playing for Madame Medusa, it was probably a little harder to play some of these aggro decks or some of these cards, but now that we're seeing people switch back to a different, more control-based variant, this aggro list looks like it can definitely do some damage. This is fairly reminiscent to some of the aggro Amethyst Steel lists we would see in last format, so it's kind of cool to see somebody get top 16 with this, and I really hope that you guys can push it all the way to maybe a top 8, top 4, even to first place with this aggro deck. So good luck, Dennis, in your future matches. Real quick, I love the combination of the Prince Never Gives Up and Hercules, because there's very few outs to this in the beginning of the game, and if you play Pinocchio Star Attraction followed by Prince Never Gives Up, usually the only opposing out is going to be like a Madame Mim Fox, or even if you're playing Hercules, then that Hercules is going to be able to trade nicely with the Mim Fox. And look at this, we have the 3 of the 5-drop Uninkable Pinocchio on the run, which is kind of cool. You're going to be able to shift this on your Pinocchio Star Attraction if you need to bounce a character with 3 cost or less to the hand. That's pretty powerful. We know how powerful Temple is in Lorcana. We've seen how important it is, and how much a deck like Emerald Amethyst can abuse its tempo against the opponent. So this card probably did a lot in the tournament. And 1 copy of Benja, because items are problematic, you know. And again, in a deck like this, I imagine when they use Bare Necessities or Ursa the Deceiver on you, you probably smile and you probably think you're never getting any value off that card, which is kind of nice. So shout out you, Dennis, getting top 16 with Amethyst Steel. Love to see it. Next up, we have another Ruby Sapphire in top 16, Christopher Anderson. Shout out you. Check out this list, very similar to the list we've been looking at. Looking like a little more ramp based, though. We have 4 copies of One Jump Ahead in this one. We are playing the 2 copies of Hard Tafiti. Obviously, we're playing 4 Fishbone, 4 Flavor Sham. Ooh, here's the Grandma Tala again. Love to see it. We have the 4-drop Grandma Tala and the Develop Your Brain, which are very similar. And Micduck Manor. And everyone's playing Micduck Manor in Ruby Sapphire is what it's looking like. So, you know, it's a 9 willpower location. It's really hard to get rid of, and I imagine you probably have to have the combination of Fishhook and Maui to get rid of it in 1 turn. If not, it's probably going to sit there for a couple turns. So a 4 inkable location that is going to generate you 2 lore most of the time, probably guaranteed, seems pretty powerful. Only 3 copies of Gaston. We have the Lucky Dime here again. There goes Lucky Dime in the meta. It's a Lucky Dime meta. Every single Sapphire list that we've seen so far, I think, is playing Lucky Dime, right? 4 Be Prepared and 2 Scar Vicious Cheater. Love to see it. 3 Madame Medusa. Then we have, to finish the game off with our power cards, we have 4 Tamatoa and 4 Maleficent Monstrous Dragon. I'm thinking Tamatoa might be a little bit underrated in the format. I like it a lot. I'd love to see it in this Top Cut list, because I've been slowly, this is a deck I play in real life, because I haven't had all the cards, and I'm just like, you know, I like this deck, so I've been slowly adding like more Tamatoas in my deck every time I play it. Next up in top 16, we have Ruby Amber, piloted by Brennan DeCandio. Shout out Mr. Brennan DeCandio again for getting top cut in this tournament. If you didn't know, Brennan DeCandio won first place in the last Tail Beastie tournament, which is like about 170 players. This dude tops these tournaments all the time. This dude definitely knows what he's doing. I believe he is like a pro Magic player as well. So in the Lorcana space, he's definitely making moves. So check out this list. Very interesting. We have 4 of the Queen Goons, 4 Lantern. We have LeFou at 1. We got 4 Mother Gothel to combine with our Rapunzels. And we got 1 Queen of Hearts, 3 Doc. Ooh, 3 Peter Pan Neverland Hero. So this Peter Pan is a 3 ink inkable, has Rush, 1 Strength, 3 Willpower. And when you have a character named Tinkerbell, this character gains +2 Strength. And check this out. We're playing 4 Tinkerbell Generous Fairy, which is like a Tinkerbell that has the ability of Be Our Guest. When you play this character, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal a character and put it to your hand, put the rest to the bottom of your deck. So if you're playing that in succession with the Peter Pan, your opponent's not going to be able to play around that. They're not going to think, oh, that you're playing that Tinkerbell. So imagine you play Peter Pan on turn 3, they quest with a character, and then on turn 4 you drop that Tinkerbell, and boom, you can clear their character. We also have Prince Eric at 3. We have the Pongo at 2. We're playing Hades in combination with some other power cards like Mufasa. So this is a Mufasa deck. Some Mufasa targets in this deck are pretty powerful, like that Tinkerbell Generous Fairy, like I mentioned, or the Hades. Some of the crazier ones are going to be this Maui Whale. So look at this, Maui Whale in this list at 1. It's a 7 inkable character with 8 strength, 8 willpower that says this character can't ready at the start of your turn. But you can pay 2 ink to ready this character, but he can't quest that turn. Either way though, it's a 7 cost character with an 8 body. So you're able to clear almost like anything in the game with this character. So that's kind of nice, and I imagine it does very well against locations. And we're only playing 1. Be prepared, because you want to make sure your opponent assumes you have it for whatever reason. You want to be able to punish them if they don't play around it, and if they are playing around it, you also don't want to have too many in your hand, right? And like I said before, playing cards like Ursula the Deceiver or Bare Necessity is really popular in this format. So this deck definitely minimizes the ability for the opponent to capitalize on that. So they can get rid of the Lantern with Bare Necessities, but if they're playing Ursula the Deceiver, there's literally only 1 target in this whole deck. And then we're playing 1 copy of Chernabog, 4 Maleficent Monstrous Dragon, and 4 Surfer Stitch. Chernabog doesn't see a lot of play this format. I've been saying this card wasn't my favorite, you know what I mean? Especially playing more than 2 doesn't seem necessary. But in this deck, it kind of does make sense because your opponent is constantly getting rid of your characters. It's a tempo deck. You definitely want to be able to play a character every single turn, except turn 2, you maybe want to play a Lantern instead, right? But other than that, yeah, you're going to be flooding the board with characters. So every time a character gets into your discard pile, this Chernabog just gets more fuel, which is really nice. And last but most definitely not least, we have a Sapphire Amethyst by Benjamin Gibson. Shout out you. This list, this color combination, very powerful. I've been practicing it since last format. I definitely like it. People were calling it Snozberries, the Blurple Berries, etc. This deck's really good. This deck has a very good matchup against Ruby Amethyst as well. The ability to generate a lot of advantage in the beginning of your game with Popsicle or Chernabog followers, followed by using cards like Friends on the other side, Grandma Tala. You're able to just constantly refill your hand and add a lot of pressure in succession with playing your cards like Snake and Fox to just clear some characters. Triple Crab in this deck. Crab is really nice because it'll make Mickey Mouse like a 4/3 character instead. And we are playing 2 of the Micduck Manor in this list because Micduck Manor is like a staple. It's what it's looking like in Sapphire right now. And 2 Queen's Castle as your locations. And we have a lot of 2-ofs in this deck to finish our later game cards out. We got 2 Cogsworth, 2 Gaston, 2 Yzma, and 2 Elsa Spirit of Winter. This deck is pretty nice. Does not have a lot of removal. Literally the only card in this deck that can remove a card from the field is going to be the Yzma Scary Beyond Reason, but it just adds a lot of constant pressure. You're able to go really wide with this deck and kind of not get punished because of your cards like Merlin Rabbit or stuff like Chernabog or even Friends on the Other Side, for example. And the ramp in this deck is kind of nice, but there's not much. It's really just Mickey Mouse and Grandma Tala, and a lot of times they just leave the Grandma Tala. They don't even want to give you extra ink, so you are able to just generate lore really quickly and finish the game off with that Merlin goat, which is kind of cool. But that is going to be all for this top 16 breakdown of the $1,700 pack tournament hosted by Taya Beastie and the pack, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, online tournament that we've seen hosted on Pixelborn by Lorcana Play Network. So shout out everybody once again for entering and for putting this tournament together for us. Like I said, link in the description below. The top cut matches are still going on right now, so if you want to see which one of these decks ends up getting first place in the top cut, make sure you go watch it. I'm going to take a random guess right now. I'm gonna bet that this deck, no, not Ruby Amethyst, no, this deck, this guy, Dennis is gonna get first place with Amethyst Steel. That's gonna be my guess right now. So let me know in the comments who you think is gonna get first place, and like I said, I'll update who got first place in the description below if you guys are watching this post Sunday. But once again, until then, stay tuned to Lorcana Goons, and we will see you goons next time.